If something isn't working in your wardrobe, it's easy to just go ahead and donate it. But what if instead of getting rid of it, we tried to modify it or DIY it to make it feel new again? That's what I did. I spent $35 and a couple of hours to make 9 pieces feel new again within my wardrobe. For most of these pieces, the styles themselves align with my personal style and would be pieces that I would reach for. However, the colors are not aligned with my personal style. But instead of decluttering these pieces, I decided to add colors into my wardrobe that felt like they were missing, as well as give these pieces a new life. And with dyeing, I'm able to pick colors that feel in line with my personal style and maybe are a bit hard for me to find out in the world of clothes that are already being produced. In this video, we're going to be covering the color removal process of 4 pieces and the dyeing process of 6 pieces in 2 different colors. And I just want to say that this is not a tutorial. I'm not here to show you how to do something. I used entirely Rit products, and I'm sure they have tutorial after tutorial over on their website. I will link their website down below if you want more information. This video is just to show you that it is possible to do things at home to make the most out of your wardrobe, and you can make things feel super unique to you just by spending a couple dollars and taking a couple of hours to do something outside your comfort zone. So in this video, I did 2 different color processes. I did a color remover process as well as a dyeing process. And a color remover process is the removal of the dye from the fibers. For this process, I used Rit Color Remover, but you could also use bleach if you're not planning to re-dye the fabric afterwards. When I was researching doing this project, I actually reached out to the Rit Instagram account, and they said that bleach will actually damage the fibers, whereas the color remover keeps the fibers intact, so it's easier to dye the fabric. If the fibers are damaged from bleach and then you try dyeing that fabric, the pigment may not take as well on the fabric because the fibers are damaged. Whereas if you use the color remover, the fibers are not damaged and they can take the full pigment if you decide to re-dye the fabric. There are a lot of variables when it comes to color removing and dyeing fabric, but we will get into that a little bit later. So for the color removing process, I bought 4 color removing packages for the 4 pieces that I'm color removing, but I actually ended up only using 2 for a total of a little under $8 because each package was $3.99. And my expectation for the color remover process was that it would be pretty straightforward. I've bleached things in the past and I thought it would be similar to the bleaching process where you just put the bleach in with some water or whatever, and you mix it together and then you put the thing in with the bleach and you let it sit for a couple hours, keep an eye on it, and then eventually the color gets removed. To talk about what the 4 pieces are that I color removed, I'm going to toss it back to past Lauren, and she's going to show you what the pieces looked like before. The first piece is this A New Day from Target blouse, and it's in this blush and black print, and it just doesn't suit me. The blush is too light for me, and I just don't wear a lot of black, so I just don't love wearing this, and I can only wear it with specific outfits, so I would love to be able to remove the print and dye this in a color that is more functional for my wardrobe. So this is what I'm nervous about, but we'll see how it goes. Then we have this sweatshirt from Aerie. It's just a cropped collared sweatshirt in black, and I just can't wear it that much because it really just collects dog hair, and I don't like how much dog hair I can see on this. So I think if it's a lighter color or a different color, that the dog hair won't be as apparent. So I'm gonna try and remove the color of this and then dye another color. And then lastly, I have 2 denim pieces. I have a pair of mango overalls. These are like a wide leg shape, so they're unlike any of my other pairs of overalls, but again, they're in this washed black color, and so I just don't reach for them, and I would love to wear them more. And then these jeans are from Stan Ray. I actually got these for free off a Facebook group, and they are a very nice pair of jeans. They fit super well, but I'm just not wearing black. In fact, when I picked them up, I thought they were navy, and then when I saw they were black, I was like, okay, let me try them on. If they don't fit, I'll give them to someone else, but they fit super well, so I definitely want to make them work in my wardrobe. And so I just want to do a little experiment and see if I can dye these a different color. And here I'm just showing the process of doing the actual color removing. So here I have the big pot on the stove. This is like a beer pot that my husband uses to make beer, and he let me use it for this process. It really helped because there were 4 pieces in the batch and then 2 packages of the color remover with water, and I just followed the instructions. I did that for the allotted time, and it was so smelly. It was such a smelly process. It almost was giving me a headache, and maybe it was extra strong because I was doing 4 large pieces of clothing, but it was just so smelly that I'm not sure if I would do it again at that level with 4 pieces because it was just so intense. Definitely worse than bleach in my opinion. And then here are the final results of all those pieces. I wanted to show you guys how the items that I tried to color remove turned out. So I'm gonna go from worst to best in terms of the success. And the first is this pair of overalls, which are 100% cotton, so it should have worked, but they're still 100% black. There was almost literally no change. I only used 2 color remover packets and I bought 4, so I think I might try to do this by itself another day with 1 more of the packets because maybe there was just too many pieces in the pot and this didn't get enough of the color remover. I'm not sure because according to the packaging, this should have worked great. Luckily, that is the only one that didn't have any change. Next was the black sweatshirt and it turned gray. It's like this really cute light heather gray, which I'm so happy with. So this was a cotton polyester blend, but I'm so happy that it ended up changing. And what I think is funny too is the sweatshirt turned gray and then the little trim on the inside is like almost a white. So this must be almost 100% cotton, and then because the rest of it is a poly blend, it didn't 100% get white. But I like this color, so I think I'm just gonna keep this as is and not dye it another color. Next is this blouse, and look at it. It came out so good. I'm so happy with this. It's like a gray, and it really took the color out of the print, so much so that I think if I dye this, the print will be visible, but it'll be a darker version of whatever color I dye it. So I'm trying to decide if I want to dye this a like blue shade or a red shade, but I'm really happy that this turned out light and it really knocked out some of the black from the print itself. And just for reference on the fabric contents, this is a linen rayon blend, so it's not a 100% natural fiber, but it really took the color out pretty well. And finally, the thing that came out the best for me was my Stan Rays, which were super inky black, and now they're like this sort of taupey cream, and the thread stayed black. It has this really great contrast stitching now, and I'm obsessed with these. And originally I was gonna dye these a color, but I think I'm just gonna keep them this cream color for now. And then if I decide to dye them later on, this is a perfect canvas. But I do like the light color and I love the contrast stitching, and I just think these are so cool as is. So I'm gonna keep these as is as well. So as you can see from past Lauren, the color remover came out different on each one of the pieces, and that's due to fabric, the dye composition, and basically how much color remover that I used, I think. And I just make sure to not set like super high expectations when it comes to this stuff, because at the end of the day, I just want it to be a color that I can wear or light enough that I can dye it a color that I can wear. So with the printed top, I was like hoping that the dye would remove the entire print, and it did make it lighter, which will make dyeing it easier. And with the sweatshirt, I feel like I just wanted it to be like a color that I wanted to wear, and the gray is a color that I could see myself wearing that's a bit lighter than the black. It's just about not having too concrete of expectations and just rolling with the punches. Now let's talk about the dyeing process. I did the color Glacier Lake as well as the color Canyon. And Canyon is a color that Rit just makes in the bottle, but Glacier Lake is actually a combination of 2 colors, the color navy and evening blue. They have a wide variety of color combinations that uses their base dye colors mixed together in different formulations to get these specialty colors. And so it's great to scroll through and find exactly the color you're looking for and exactly the combination of different dyes that you need to get that color. It just makes it feel that much more personalized. So first, I'm going to show you guys the befores. This is what the 3 pieces looked like before. I had a white Olympics hat, the blouse that I color removed, and a pair of cheddar cheese yellow big bud press trousers. I chose this Canyon color because it is a color that I think is really beautiful and can work well with the colors that I already have in my wardrobe. I love mustard and olive and blue, and so having a terracotta is like a take on red that feels really in line with my personal style. And so I was hoping to get some variation of that with these 3 items. Again, I was sure I wasn't going to get exactly Canyon. You can guess and do your best, but you never know what you're gonna get. So I just was like, okay, if I got any shade of this color, light or dark, then that would be something that would be really fun for me to style. And so I wanted to try it and see how these pieces would come out. For this dye bath, I used 1 whole bottle of Canyon and half a bottle of the Rit Dye Fixative, which just helps to keep the dye in place once you dye the item and keeps the dye looking like fresh and saturated, and it won't fade as quickly from washing and stuff if you use the dye fixative. So the process for this was to follow the directions, use hot water, like a tablespoon of detergent, a cup of salt, and the dye mixture in, and mix it all together, and then add the fabric in and mix it and keep it in for at least 30 minutes, but up to 60 minutes. So basically I went in there every 15 minutes and I would stir it and check on it and mix it around. And then at the end of 60 minutes, I dumped out the dye and rinsed the items until the water ran mostly clear. And then I created the dye fixative bath with more hot water and half a bottle of dye fixative. And then I added the fabric to the fixative bath and was mixing consistently for 20 minutes while that all soaked in to make sure it gets all soaked in evenly. And then I took those out and I put it in a warm wash cycle in my washing machine with an old towel and then dried everything. And after all that, this is how everything turned out. So these were all in the same dye bath and they're 3 completely different colors. And that has to do with their base color and their fabric content. So the first piece is this linen top, which is something that I color removed. So it was like a grayish color after it got color removed, and now it's like a dark burgundy. And you can still see the print, but it's definitely a mostly like burgundy print. And I think this came out super pretty. It's a very like brownie red, but I think it's gonna be great and definitely more wearable than the blush pink and black that it was before. Then I have this hat, and I think this is how the Canyon is supposed to look, because this hat was white when I started, and it's 100% cotton, so I think this is actually what Canyon is supposed to look like. And it's this really beautiful terracotta color, and I think this is gonna be so much more wearable now that it's this like reddish color, because the white was, I hadn't even worn it yet, and somehow I got a stain on it. So this is gonna be way more wearable, and I don't have anything else like this in my hat collection, so I'm very excited to get some more wear out of this. And this is my favorite piece from the Canyon dye bath, and it's the Big Bud Press pants, because I know and love Big Bud Press trousers. I have 4 pairs of the lightweight, and I got these in a mystery sample sale, and it was already a color that I had, and so having these in a reddish orange color just adds so much more options to my wardrobe. As you can see, it's a lot different from the hat because this was a yellow base and this was a white base. So obviously this is a lot more yellow, but I think it still really works well within my wardrobe. And if I ever wanted to dye this darker, I know that I could get there by doing a combination of Canyon with the color Scarlet to make it more like this to combat the yellow. But I think right now it works great, and I'm just so happy with how this came out because I think it's such a beautiful color, even though it's not exactly what Canyon was supposed to be. So now moving on to the blue dye bath. I dyed 3 items for this bath as well. So I did a cotton universal thread cream sweatshirt, a light blue linen button-down shirt, and a beige polo sweater. And I decided to dye these pieces because they were in these lighter, paler colors that I don't feel like work as well for me in my wardrobe. The beige didn't feel very special. The cream top, I was always worried about staining it, and the linen top just felt really light and would wash me out when I would wear it. So then I just followed the same dye bath process as the Canyon, except I used like a 1/4 teaspoon of the navy and 3/4 tablespoons of the evening blue. Whatever the formula was, I will put it here. And the reason I chose this color was to add this gorgeous cornflower blue in. I thought it would work really well with like mustards and dark greens, and I can't ever find it anywhere out in the world. It's either a super light blue or cobalt in the pieces that I've seen, so I wanted to try and add something that I can never find anywhere. So after doing the dye bath, I did the dye fixative just like I did for the Canyon, the whole same process, and this is the results of those 3 pieces. So we have the linen top, the cream sweatshirt, and the beige sweater here. And again, as you can see, they're all different colors. They're very similar, but they're all different shades of this Glacier Lake color. So first I'm going to talk about the linen shirt because I think this is closest to what the color was supposed to be. So this is the color that I think is the most true to what I was kind of envisioning, and I just love how it looks with the mother of pearl buttons. It's very wrinkly. I have to steam it, but I just think this color came out so good. I think this is going to be perfect for the summertime. I wore this shirt a lot last summer and I didn't love how it looked, but I liked the silhouette and the linen fabric is perfect for summer. So I'm excited to have it in a color that I think I'll get a lot more wear out of this next summer. So next I have this universal thread sweatshirt, and this is a cotton polyester blend, which is why I think the color isn't as strong as it is in the linen shirt. I'm really happy with it still. It is a bit lighter than I anticipated, but I think overall it came out pretty good considering it's a polyester blend. And I think I'm gonna get a lot more wear out of it than I would have if it was still that like bright, creamy white. And finally, we have this sweater that I thrifted. It's a cotton rayon blend, and this actually looked gray when I was dyeing it. I was really nervous that this wasn't gonna come out how I had hoped, but I really like the color. It's still pretty blue. It does have like a grayer tone blue, but I still think it's something I'm really gonna get a lot of wear out of, and I'm super happy with how it turned out, especially considering I thought it was going to be gray when I was dyeing it, but it is really blue and I'm just really happy with it. I was a little nervous about this one because it's a sweater and it's a cotton rayon blend, but I think it exceeded my expectations. I'm really happy with how all of the pieces turned out, with the exception of that one pair of overalls that didn't actually get color removed. And here are some outfits that I put together, just show how I'm already trying to style these new colors in my wardrobe. I think I'm most excited about my Stan Ray pants, my linen button-down shirt, and my big bud pressed trousers. And I think this process has given new life to all of these pieces that I was able to make a change to. And if you enjoyed these transformations, look out for next week's video where I style all the pieces that had a transformation from this video, so you get to see how I style each of the new pieces and the different color combinations that I'm able to create. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up so I know to make more videos like this. I love making videos all about personal style and making the most out of your wardrobe, so if you don't want to miss anything from me, make sure to subscribe. It really helps my channel. If you enjoyed this, you might enjoy my video where I do a 30-minute style challenge where I style as many outfits as I can in 30 minutes, so I will leave that linked here and see you in the next one. Bye!